Hi, everyone. This is Brian from Keller Williams, and this is Mindset Monday. Today's phrase: if the mountain were smooth, you couldn't climb it. If the mountain were smooth, you couldn't climb it. Now, I have a little bit of experience in this. Back in the day, I used to go rock climbing all the time. We had about, myself and three other people. We have, two teams of two, and we'd go out, rock climbing and do that. And I know that this phrase is, metaphorical, but I'm going to use my, practical example of actually rock climbing to demonstrate the point. So we would get out there to the park, right? National Park, right? And this one favorite place that we had, it was called Rattlesnake National Monument. It was about 120 feet limestone. We did a thing called top roping technique, right? Where the rope goes from the ground to the top to you, right? So it was relatively safe, right? And then you had someone on the ground called a belay. And when the climber would slip off, tighten up the rope and you'd be okay, get back on the rock and keep on climbing. That's what we normally did. But there was this one time where we did what's called lead climbing. And this is where I had a friend of mine who was preparing for a much, longer, cliff climb of like 1,000 feet. And so what lead climbing is, and you've seen this before, is where you have climber number one lays all the anchors, climber number two picks them up, lays the new anchors, right? And then they keep going like this. And that's how they get like these really high, like 1,000 foot peaks and things like that, right? Now there is a larger element of risk to that, okay? And so a buddy of mine talked me into it. He says, "Hey man, I'm practicing for this climb." He's like, I need some practice. So you want to come with me? And we'll still go to Rattlesnake and do the 120 feet, but I need to practice the lead climb. So will you do it with me? And I'm like, sure, why not, right? I was 20, I was fearless. So anyway, so we get there, and boy, I figured out right away that this is a whole different league, right? So my buddy goes up there, he lays him out, and I'm picking him up and laying him down too, and we're working our way up, up the escarpment there, and so it was in the morning. There's a real heavy fog, right? And the fog rolls in. It was really cool. It looked like a waterfall of fog just coming over the edge of the cliff, right? And just kind of just billowing down on top of us. Well, it made the rock very slippery. And the thing about lead climbing is that yes, you have anchors, right? But they're not nearly as steady as like top roping, where you're tying off to a tree or a big boulder. So I've seen guys slip and coming down that hill and like pop, 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 their anchors are popping and like the last two catch them, right? So there's an elevated level of risk here. So I started getting nervous because the rock's getting a little wet and I had the rosin for my hands and I'm going along and I'm doing okay. And I was, that was kind of like the peak of my climbing. So I felt good physically and my ability level, right? But anyway, we're up there and we're going and the rock is slippery. So you're compensating. And, when you're doing that, like, when you rock climb, if you stay in one spot for too long, you really get tired. You can really get fatigued very fast. And of course, if you get fatigued, that's what's going to make you slip. Right. And of course, the wet rock from all the fog was doing that also. And so, I mean, man, I was nervous. Okay. I was scared, but I saw where we had to go. I was doing this for my friend. And so here we are going up, and a couple times a foot would slip off the edge or my hand would, right? And limestone's really what's the word, like brittle. And so I went to do a mantle lift and like boom, like the rock gave way and fell down, and and I stayed on though. And I'm telling you, I was getting scratches on the inside of my arms, inside of my knees. And honestly, it was kind of desperation at that point. I'm like, focus, man, get up there, like just make it. And so anyway, so we get up this climb, and it's my fingers are hurting and my toes are hurting. I had climbing shoes and everything. I had all the right equipment, but I mean, it was a really big physical and mental challenge. I really had to focus. It was exhausting, like I said, both mentally and physically, right? And so we're going up there, and then we finally get to the top, about 120 feet, and as I pulled myself up, and rock climbers will know this, your reward is your view, right? So we finally got up to the top. My buddy was ahead of me. He reaches down, grabs my harness, pulls me up. And he's like, we made it, right? And so you're just sitting there on the edge and your feet are dangling over the edge, and you look out, you can see the city of Toronto on the skyline, probably like, I don't know, maybe 40, 50, 60 miles out there. And you see that, birds are flying sideways instead of over you, right? And like, and then the breeze is there and the view you can just see for miles, right? And we got high enough, like the fog wasn't as thick. And then you just kind of get like that runner's high, right? Because you've really exerted yourself. Now, I had scratches on my arms, my fingertips hurt, right? The inside of my knees are all scratched up. That's how you know rock climbers, right? Because they're hugging the wall, right? Never have scratches on the outside, it's always on the inside. And oh, kind of like this, right? Little hole in the t-shirt. That's not from rock climbing. But anyway, um, but the point of this is, or the point that I'm trying to make is this. Um, you never know what you're capable of until you push yourself, right? And this is true with anything in life. In this case, it was me learning a new rock climbing technique on that cliff in that fog, really challenging myself mentally, physically. And this could apply to any other sport, right? Whether you play, football or golf, right? Or if you're at work, right? You're presented with a really big challenge and something you need to overcome, right? Until you really, really push yourself, you don't know what you're capable of. And if you don't challenge yourself, you get soft, right? And I'm not just talking physically, I'm talking mentally, right? If you keep insulating yourself from challenges around you, mentally you get soft. Your mindset gets soft. You start to doubt yourself, right? And when you doubt yourself, you make mistakes. So, rock climbing at that time was it for me. Figure out what that is for you. What is your cliff to climb? What is your mountain to climb? Right? And think about, when your fingers get sore, when you're scratched up, right? When your toes hurt, when your body hurts and you're mentally exhausted, just get to that mountaintop. And I'm telling you, when you get there, enjoy the view. So, anyway, that's today's Mindset Monday. If the mountain was smooth, you couldn't climb it. Thanks so much. See you next week.